Today we're reviewing a conjugate-based program. This is from Matt Wenning, and those of you that know me know that I hold the conjugate method near and dear to my heart, but I'm still going to give you a very unfiltered and unbiased review, and we're going to start right now. What's up everyone, Jason Brown here, the King of Programming, back for another programming review. Today we have Matt Wenning conjugate training in the Train Heroic app. And as I've said in the last few reviews that you guys have seen now, Train Heroic app is something I use in my own training, so I don't have to fumble around as much. It makes these reviews a lot easier, and hopefully you guys can get a better picture of what the program is because I'm not having to fumble around. Some of the apps these days are almost like you need an engineering degree to use. And maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just technologically inept, but needless to say, I really like this app and I think it's very straightforward, especially for the end user. We have a lot of people that use ours and a lot of them have a lot of good feedback on this app. So without further ado, we're gonna get right into it. And these programs that I am reviewing, I am specifically choosing people that have a 7-day free trial, mainly because I wanted to review something that anyone could potentially see and it not impact someone's IP or essentially giving away what they're doing. As coaches, we work hard in the space and I don't want to give away anyone's training, but if you have a 7-day trial, like we have a 7-day trial on both of our subscriptions, that's what we're reviewing here. So if you have recommendations, caveat, make sure they have a free trial. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So this is a conjugate-based program. For those of you that don't know, conjugate method means a lot of things. It's a mixed modality style system of training where we're essentially training multiple qualities of fitness within a week. So you have things like the max effort method, which many of you probably know is building to a 1 rep max in your big lift. We have things like dynamic effort that are focused more on bar velocity, okay? Moving the bar with speed across multiple sets. And then of course we have things like repeated effort, which help us build limitations. And then biggest piece of this is GPP, which we've talked about now quite a bit, general physical preparedness, building our base of fitness. So those are integral pieces of the conjugate system. And there are a lot of ways to skin the cat, okay? We have a conjugate-based subscription and we do things very different, but a lot of those key tenets are still kept intact. So this day number 1 on Matt's training subscription here consists of a max effort lower, okay? Now, when you think about max effort, I want you guys to think about specifically a 1 repetition max. Not to get too granular with it, this is actually a sub-maximal effort day. It says progressively build towards a challenging set of 5. So this is more sub-maximal effort. It's a sub-maximal effort method, but again, this is kind of me nitpicking. So don't take what I'm saying to be like the end all be all of this program. This is built on the tenets of conjugate training, which I know Matt Wenning knows as well as anyone. So we're building to a heavy 5, RPE 8. There is no rest interval. One thing I've seen now with the Train Heroic app is that a lot of people don't have rest intervals. I'm not sure why, and it's funny, after seeing a few of these in the Train Heroic app, I started to think, am I doing something wrong on my end? And I pulled up, I'm actually gonna drop a screenshot in here of a day of my training so you can see that it's very easy to put rest intervals in here. And I don't know why coaches aren't doing it, but it's definitely some low-hanging fruit in my opinion. So there is no rest interval here, but for something like this, we would certainly want to rest 3 to 4 minutes, especially between those heavier sets. So that's our first lift of the day. Our second lift of the day is a sumo deadlift. Same scheme, 5x5 progressive loading. This is done with a deficit, so standing on 45-pound plates. So I'd ask, if you are training to be a power lifter, is this a logical sequence where we essentially train a heavy squat and then a heavy deadlift? For some people, definitely yes. For general fitness people that I train, probably not. There's definitely going to be some wear and tear with this form of training where you're squatting heavy and then deadlifting heavy. Now, with the conjugate method, squatting for speed and deadlifting for speed on a dynamic effort day is pretty much a standard thing across the board. You'll see that quite a bit. A matter of just kind of personal preference here though, I probably wouldn't do it that way, but I think Matt's audience is different than mine. So I think that this is perfectly fine to do the way he has it set up. And for someone that is very focused on gaining maximal strength, this is definitely a way to go about it. Again, there is no rest interval, so that's something to be considered. And then we've got our accessories. We've got hamstring curls, decline sit-ups, and glute bridges done in the giant set. So that's 3 exercises. There is no rest intervals, but it's pretty clear on sets and reps. Overall, I like this day. It's very concise. 5 exercises. I've said this before, when I see programs with 5, 6 exercises, I immediately know that the coach has experience, because most people know that to put in a legitimate amount of effort across 10, 12, 14 exercises, you've seen some of the reviews with 14 exercises. How do you do that? You're going through the motions. You're not being true to yourself. That's how you do it. Okay, this is 5 exercises programmed with a specific intent and done in a very, very concise way. Exercise order is on point. Exercise selection is on point. The sets, reps are on point, but there are no rest intervals, okay? So, just to review, what do we talk about when we do these reviews? We talk about fundamentals, those things I just mentioned: exercise order, exercise selection, sets, reps, and rest intervals, and conditioning. Is there any conditioning, which we're gonna get into? So overall, I think this is a very sound day of training for a heavy lower body day. I don't have a whole lot of feedback. I like this giant set. I think the way he has this giant set program with hamstring curls, decline sit-ups, glute bridges, you've got movements that, in essence, can be done in that form. If you had something like a glute ham raise as your main hamstring movement, I would say we program that in isolation. It's a demanding movement pattern that requires a lot of rest between sets. But what we have here, these are more isolation-based movements, certainly can be done the way they're done, and I actually really like it. So that's day 1 of the program, looking good so far. Let's go to day 2. Day 2 is max effort upper. We've got a warm-up, Wenning warm-up. Those you don't know, I've heard a lot about Wenning warm-ups. A lot of people swear by them. A lot of people love them. It's not something that I do in my warm-ups, but let's take a look at what it is. It's relatively high volume with some of the main patterns of the day to kind of prepare us for what we're about to do. So this being an upper body day, we've got some delt rows, we've got some push downs, we've got some pull downs. Done, again, for very high volume, 75, 60, and 60 total reps. And the RPE with this, what I know, he says RPE 4. So very, very low intensity. And the logic of the Wenning warm-up, I like. I, again, have nothing against it. I think it's, again, people swear by it, they love it. And then you're going into your main lift of the day, which is your bench press, 8x6. So this is 8 times 6 RM. So we're building to a 6 rep maximum with deliberate pauses. RPE is 8. And very specific guidelines I like, but there is no rest interval. And again, I have seen this now on Train Hero quite a bit. I don't know why. To be honest, I thought it was a problem with my own programming, because I thought that maybe there's something in here I'm overlooking when I write programming in my app. But I will tell you that now, doing some investigation, that's not the case. But either way, I really like this day. So we go into bench press as our main lift and then board press as our assistance for the bench press. I really like that strategy. Another strategy that you can use, we actually just did this recently in our conjugate-based programming. Someone asked, is this a typo? We're floor pressing after we floor press. No, it's not a typo, because we can do the same lift. We can use a main lift with a heavy emphasis, maybe in the heavy single range, and then go into some repetition work with that same lift and dropping some load. So that is a strategy you can use. I really like it. And he's using it here with the board press, which is, again, board press is a phenomenal movement. For those of you who don't know, it allows you to work different sticking points with your bench press. Love it. So it's a great day of training. And then he's got some accessories with a single arm row, tricep extension, and some foam rolling. I don't like the foam rolling in this. I think we could have probably done better with something else. It's 10 minutes of foam rolling. The way he has it set up is we would be doing a single arm row, a tricep extension, and then 10 minutes of foam rolling. It kind of doesn't make sense in the giant set format. You could do the foam rolling at the end if you want to. That's something you like. I'm not a big believer in foam rolling, but needless to say, a little bit confusing on this giant set here because of the way it's set up. But overall, I like this day that it is similar to the first day. And I mentioned before in past reviews that having a similar structure across your week, A, shows good organization, B, makes it less confusing to the end user. This is very easy to navigate. We did reviews where we're like reading through dissertations, like what is going on here? We've got so much text. Tell me what the training is, be concise with it. This is doing that. I, again, really like that. I think I've probably said that enough already, but I do really like that. Okay, so let's move on. This is day 3 and this is a recovery day, and it's foam rolling and walk. Personally, I think you could do a little bit more here. An end all be all, definitely not. I definitely think you could do more here. You could use some sled drags, some light sled drags for a longer duration. You've got some walking here. Again, people see these days and they think like, well, it's not that important. There's not that much detail and it's kind of just like whatever. So if I don't have time to get it in, I won't get it in. If you make this resemble a training session, maybe use some aerobic elements, some cyclical work, people are more likely to do it. And I've looked at actual compliance scores on my app and I've seen that to be the case. So again, to each his own. I wouldn't count this against them too much, but I do think we could do a little bit better here. So let's move on to our next session. Where are we? I got a lot of programs in this app. It's not coming up. Well, we could do this, I think. Go to the previous week. All right, guys, we got day 4 here. And this, as you would imagine, because we've done our 2 heavy days, is a dynamic effort day for the lower body. I have similar feedback, and I'm gonna make this one quick because I really like this day. I like sled drags, I like speed squats, I like speed pull deadlift, which is funny. I mentioned that being very much a standard thing with the conjugate method. He's doing it here, and I, to be honest, didn't look ahead. I didn't know that before saying that, but that is something that we do with the conjugate system pretty regularly. To be honest, I don't do it as much anymore in my own programming or my programming, my conjugate-based programming, mainly because there is the goals of the clients I work with tends to be a little bit more general, so to speak. But again, I think these people that are using mats are probably more focused on athletic performance and things like that. So I think that this is a great day. I love that it starts with sled drags. Sled drags are a great warm-up for what we're about to do. There are no rest intervals, and again, a small thing that we can make a little bit better. I like the giant set, abs. We've got some isolation work. We've got some direct calf work. Overall, this is a great day, guys. I don't really have a whole lot more to say other than this program thus far is pretty solid. Okay, let's look at our dynamic effort upper body day. Okay, so this is our 6th day of the week. We're using the Wenning warm-up. He's got dumbbell bench and lat pull down. I like it. Again, good primer. The question with these warm-ups is whether or not it impacts your main lift of the day in a negative way. Now, I think Matt's logic was, well, after you build GPP over time, it shouldn't impact the main lift. I guess it really depends, right? It depends if you're being true to that RPE. If that RPE is, if I recall, it's a 4, then yes, in theory, it should work pretty well. But everyone's different. And I know that some people have commented that they've done them and they felt absolutely smoked. So again, to each their own. Speed bench press, 10 sets of 3. I like it. I would like to see a percentage though. And actually, I got ahead of myself here. Let's go back. I want to see if there's any percentages with our speed squats. I don't see a percentage. For speed work, we should have a percentage because we need to know exactly, is it 60%, 70%, is it 40%? I know Matt goes a little bit lower on the percentage scale as far as speed work. He tends to bias lower percentages. For myself personally, I tend to program 40, 45, 50% with accommodating resistance. So that usually will make up another 25 to 30%. But not to get too confusing with this stuff. I would like to see those percentages there. I would like to see the rest intervals. But overall, guys, this is a very solid program. Someone that uses this program is going to get great results. They're going to definitely get stronger. They're going to, if gaining strength and power is a goal, this program will certainly help you do it. So to conclude things, let's go through pros and cons. Pros of this program: very well organized, great exercise selection, sets, reps, and rest intervals are on point. The program across a week is very well structured in the sense that you have similarities from day to day. This helps the end user get into the session and know what they're doing and not have to fumble and guess. There's also not a ton of extra text, which I hate. If you're having to read all the stuff, usually people don't do it, and then they miss the boat on what you're trying to do. So I really, really like that. I think the program is very, very solid. Now, my cons. Rest intervals, that's always a con. If there's no rest intervals, that's a con. If there are not correct rest intervals, that's also a con. So in this case, there are no rest intervals, and I know that Matt Wenning knows the proper rest. And maybe it's just assumed. Me personally, again, this is a personal thing. I would like to see rest intervals, and I have them in all of my programs. And I do think that it makes a difference. Now, whether people follow them, that's another story, but I do think it is such a great detail that we should have. Number 2, I would like to see some conditioning in this program. He's got sled drags on your dynamic effort lower day. Why not have some light sled drags on that Wednesday instead of just walking? Light sled drag for a mile takes 20 to 30 minutes. We're already assuming that people have access to sleds. Let's use those again, okay? And you can use the sled in a lot of different ways. So I would like to see a little bit more out of that conditioning day. And, as a whole, I would like to see some percentages too with my dynamic effort work so I know exactly what I'm doing. But again, I think that this is a very, very solid program. I like that it's very concise and it doesn't have just an overabundance of exercises. So overall, rating for this program is a 9.1. Same score I gave Joe DeFranco's program. If you haven't seen that review, I'd recommend you checking out, and we'll see you guys on the next review.
Best best program available on the internet today.
I think it's very difficult to find a trainer like Jason.
Since joining Everyday Heroes, I feel like I've stopped working out and actually started training.